You know those games where you sit down and go, alright, I'll play this for an hour or so, then you end up playing for 5 hours straight? That's Balatro. And get this, before playing Balatro, I didn't even like poker that much. Balatro is a poker-themed roguelike deck-building game where you have to score enough points to beat the ante. Each game will have 8 antes, which are made up of 3 different sized blinds. The small blind and big blinds, these are gimmickless, but each boss blind will have a gimmick that can harm the player. These can range from having smaller hands, to disabling a suit, to having the chips that are earned, and the like. Some of these are simply brutal and will hard counter some strategies. The final boss blind on ante 8 will be 1 of 5, and just pray to God that it's not the Violet Vessel. When each blind is completed, the player will earn some money. They can hit the shop and buy some stuff, with jokers being arguably the most prominent. Most items can either be bought straight up if given the option, or they can be purchased in packs. In most runs and decks, 5 jokers can be held and their effects differ wildly. A lot of them will give the player some multiplication, or chips, but others can multiply the multiplier, some will make certain hands easier to achieve. Listen, there are 150 jokers total, and there are simply too many to list what they do. These jokers can be modified as well. In addition to base jokers, there are 4 modifiers. Negative will allow an additional joker slot, polychrome will give the player a 1.5 bonus to the multiplier, foil will give the player 50 chips when scoring, and the holographic will give plus 10 multipliers when scoring. Please keep this in mind. When scoring, the position of the jokers on the top, that matters a lot. Put your multiplication and polychrome jokers on the right. Jokers aren't the only thing that the player can buy. They can also buy tarot cards, which I love. These powerful cards can be used to enhance the player's deck. Death will allow the player to copy a card, the Magician will allow the player to turn 2 cards into lucky cards, the Empress will allow the player to turn 2 cards into multiplication cards, the Hermit and Temperance will give the player money. There are 22 different tarot cards, some of which are very powerful, given their relatively cheap price tag. Speaking of card modifiers, there are 8 total, and their effects are: Bonus will give plus 30 chips, Molt card will give plus 4 multiplier, Wild card is considered to be every suit simultaneously, Glass card will give times 2 Molt, but it has a 1 in 4 chance to shatter and be destroyed. Steel cards will grant 1.5 times to the multiplier, but the card has to stay in their hand. The Stone card will grant plus 50 chips, will always score, and does not have an associated suit or rank. The Gold card will give the player $3 if the card is held in the hand at the end of the round. And last but not least, there's the Lucky card. This one's my personal favorite, but I don't know if it's actually that good. It has a 1 in 5 chance for the player to gain a plus 20 multiplier, but better than that, a 1 in 15 chance to get $20. I know it's rare, but that dopamine rush when you get a $20 is simply fantastic. Regular playing cards can also have the base, foil, holographic, and polychrome effects that I described earlier for the jokers. No negative cards though. However, on top of enhancements and additions, playing cards can also have seals. The gold seal will earn the player $3 when the card on it is played, the red seal will re-trigger cards an additional time when scoring, the blue seal will give the player a planet card matching the player's final hand if the card stays in their hand, and the purple seal will grant the player a tarot card if they discard it, and they have room. Usually, the player will have 2 consumable slots, but certain decks and situations will allow for a different amount. Speaking of planet cards, these will level up specific hands, increasing the amount of chips earned. You know, 2 pair, full house, straight, and the like. There are 12 total, but 3 of them are hidden. 5 of a kind, flush 5, and flush house, these are all extremely powerful and scale well. These hands can be hard to achieve, but man, it feels great when you do. Sometimes it feels great just to get the telescope and just level up your most played hand like a madman. Speaking of the telescope is one of the 32 vouchers in the game. It should be noted that they come in pairs of 16, and you have to buy the first one in order to get the second one to appear in the shop. Only one will appear until the boss blind is defeated. For example, to get the observatory, you need to have the telescope in your possession for that run. These have very powerful effects, and will normally cost $10. Both Overstock and Overstock Plus will give an additional card to buy in the shop. Both Grabber and Natural Talent will give the player a permanent hand per round. The blank one does absolutely nothing, but you need it to buy Antimatter, which will grant an additional Joker slot. Director's Cut will allow the player to re-roll the boss blind 1 time per ante for $10, while Retcon will allow unlimited boss blind re-rolls for $10. These are literal game changers and are a major part of the game. There are also spectral cards, which along with the planet and tarot cards are considered consumables. These are kinda like souped up tarot cards. These will usually alter the player's deck in some way, but to a greater effect, and then will come with a downside. There are 18 total, but 2 of them, Black Hole and the Soul, are extremely rare. The Black Hole will upgrade every poker hand by 1, while the Soul will create 1 of 5 legendary jokers, if you have room. You can also skip the small and big blinds to get a tag. I don't usually like doing these though, because you miss out on shop runs. You can miss out a joker that you really need, as well as a chance to buff up your scalable jokers. However, some of these tags, they are certainly tempting. Getting $25 after the boss blind, that is a really nice one. A free polychrome or negative joker, that can be cool too. Doubling money, up to $40 anyway, can be a lifesaver. Skipping does have its uses, but I personally like to use them very sparingly. It took me like goddamn 15 hours to beat the game. Oh, that was only on white stake with a single deck. Shoot. So when the player beats a stake, they will unlock the next stake for that deck only, which will make the game harder. These effects will range from needing a higher score, having perishable jokers, having rental jokers, having eternal jokers that can't be destroyed, and the like. But man, when you get to gold stake, it took me over 60 hours to finally beat a gold stake run. There are so many restrictions and you need to be able to adapt. I was able to do it mindlessly just by playing flushes on checkered deck, but even that can be pretty difficult if the game hates you. Rental jokers costing $3 per round, that can be a hard pill to swallow if it's a joker you really need. You throw that, on top of the other stuff. -1 discard, the perishable jokers, the eternal jokers, the higher scaling antes. It can be very hard to win gold stake runs consistently. At the 100-hour mark, I finally beat gold stake with the blue deck just before recording this video. I got a clutch ride the boss card early, which I was able to make polychrome with Hex. After that, I used Hangman and Death to try to delete all of my face cards. I then got a cool ghost joker, which copied the polychrome ride the bus, along with Sharp, which gives a ×3 multiplier if her hands already played that round. I just spammed the shit out of high card. Blue Joker, as well as Stuntman, were my 2 chip-generating jokers. This strategy, it simply carried my poor ass to victory. I've been obsessed with the channel Roffle Lite recently, and he says that he wins the higher stake runs by mostly using easier to achieve hands. Stuff like pair, high card, maybe 2 pair, and that makes total sense. The game puts so many restrictions on the player during a gold stake run. That might be my strategy for higher stakes going forward, but if there are any Balatro scholars out there, please help. Anyway, speaking of the checkered deck, there are 15. Fine, 16 decks if you really want to include the challenge deck. But the thing is, these feel so different to me. Being able to spam flushes mindlessly, that wouldn't really work with any of the other decks than the checkered one. The ghost deck is a cool idea. It will allow spectral cards to appear normally in the shop, not just in packs. The abandoned deck is really cool too. Not having face cards, it just makes me think about playing the game differently. The Zodiac deck, I like that idea too. The black deck though, that could go straight to hell. Oh yeah, there are challenge runs too. I've only done the first one, which gives the player 5 eggs but they won't earn interest from rounds. This means they can really only gain money from tarot cards, selling the eggs and other jokers, or from lucky and gold cards. It's an interesting idea, but I've been tinkering with the main game to give this too much of an honest go. I wanted to mention it in case if anyone was wondering if there is more to Balatro than, in quotes, the main game. When you combine all of these mechanics together, it just creates a game that seems nearly infinitely replayable. There are so many strategies that one can try out and just deploy. It's an amazing feeling when you find 2 or more jokers that just synergize so well together and watch that score get higher and higher. At the same time, it can be easy to forget about something and have it screw you over for the entire run. Admittedly, mine is econ. I let myself get poor way too often, which leads to fewer shop rolls. It also leads to the player getting less interest money. You need good jokers to pass ante 8, especially on gold stake difficulty, so you're going to need to hit the shop a lot. Even though Balatro seems pretty basic on the surface, the game has a lot of personality. A lot of the Joker artwork is honestly great. I also love the psychedelic background. The soundtrack is also pretty good too. Maybe it's because I'm just a collectathon nut, but there's something just inherently fun about filling out the collection. On top of that, Jokers will have a stake sticker on them if you use that Joker to beat that stake. What a cute idea. It took me forever. That last legendary Joker took forever to appear, but I did complete the collection. I want to give a mini shout out to the achievements too. Since this game is about figuring shit out and toying with the mechanics, taking a peek and attempting the achievements can make you learn more about the game. For example, I never thought that the trading card Joker was all that great. However, I looked up how to get the Tiny Hands achievement and people recommended using this Joker. Now I realize that it's one of, if not the best, early game economy Jokers. Shattered is a nice way to nudge players to try playing with those glass cards. Flushed is a nice way to nudge players to use wild cards. I know achievements aren't some mind-blowing thing, but for a game like Balatro, I think they mean more to it than other games. Balatro, again, is about trying new shit. Try using a bigger deck, or maybe try refining your deck to only a few high-value cards. Try saving up as much money as possible to get a shitload of interest. Try completing that collection. Find good vouchers and synergy between Jokers. Achievement hunting is more fun in Balatro than the average game, I'd argue. Anyway, there's not a lot to complain about, but I do got something for you whiners. I know some are just gonna say skill issue to this, but you can't deny there's a crazy amount of RNG going on. Some runs feel dead right out of the gate because of shitty shops. This isn't a problem on lower difficulties, but man, sometimes it feels like a bad shop or two will just completely kill the gold stake run. Some more insane players actually recommend to just keep restarting a gold stake run until you get a good first shop. And I don't know, that just kind of feels shitty to me. Another thing that can dampen the mood is when you're having a really good run, and then the boss blind just completely counters your build. I know the response to this is usually just adapt, you idiot, but it can really take the fun out of things. If, say, Violet Vessel just pops up, and you just can't beat it, Yeah, that's what Director's Cut is for, but sometimes it just doesn't show up, you know? Likewise, there are a couple of Jokers that can save you from a bad boss line, like Luchador, Chicot, and even Mr. Bones to a degree. But again, sometimes they just don't show up. I know RNG is going to be inherent to a game like this, and even playing around a shitty RNG can feel good if you're skilled. I mean, I love lucky cards. I said that earlier, and those are completely luck-based. There is a lot of skill involved when trying to get around a bad shop or RNG, though. It can still feel kind of shitty. I don't know, it's really my only valid complaint, so I just felt like I had to mention it. In short, Balatro has ruined any productivity that rarely occurred in my life anyway. I've pumped over 100 hours into this game, and I am nowhere near done yet. I probably won't go for the Completionist Plus achievement, which requires the player to beat Gold Stake with every single Joker. But I do want to beat Gold Stake with all the decks, and that is going to take a while. I still have only done it with 2 decks, the checkered one and the blue deck. Anyway, a strong 7 out of 7 for me, and yep, this is probably my game of the year. I don't see anything beating it. Also, I gotta get my hands on a physical copy. It comes out September 17th, and each one will contain 10 Joker cards. Oh no.